Now, here in Gauteng, the High Court today had testimony of Lerato Mokwena. Mokwena worked as a clerk at a clinic in Braamfontein during the 2021 student protest when Mthokozisi Ntumba was shot and killed. Ntumba was walking out of a doctor's practice when he was struck by a bullet. The 4 policemen facing charges in connection with his murder have all pleaded not guilty. ENC reporter Cidraas Motseothatha was in court. Let's cross over to her now just to get the latest, what has happened and what will be next. Good afternoon, Slindelo. So what happened in court today? What are the highlights?
Well, Bradan, what we saw in the South Gauteng High Court today was the start of the trial of the 4 police officers accused of the murder of Mthokozisi Ntumba, who was shot and killed last year during violent clashes between students as well as police officers trying to quell protest action by students. At the time, you would remember that students were displeased with issues around exclusion due to fees not being paid, as well as the high cost of higher education. And so what we saw transpiring during March last year were those protests, and caught or struck during those violent clashes, we understand, was Mthokozisi Ntumba, who was leaving his doctor's offices here in Braamfontein on Jorison Street, if I'm not mistaken. And the first witness that was called to the stand by the state in this particular matter was the clerk who received Mthokozisi Ntumba, who works at that doctor's practices. Her name is Lerato Mokwena, and what she did today was really describe what she saw and what she experienced when with her interaction with Mthokozisi. She started off by explaining how the officers are, where she sits in relation to the door, describing how Mthokozisi walks in, how there's a buzzer that you need to press before you can walk into the doctor's offices, how she proceeded to open for him, update his details, how a nurse took his vitals. He then went to see the doctor, and this was around 10 a.m. in the morning, Bradan. Once he had consulted, he left the doctor's practices with his medication in hand. As soon as he walked out of the doctor's offices, she then described how she heard gunshots, how students proceeded to run in different directions, and once the gunshots had stopped, she then proceeded to make her way to the door to see what was happening. She noticed that there were what looked like gunshots that had struck the door of the doctor's practice. When she stepped out, she then says that she saw Mthokozisi Ntumba clutching with his one hand his medication, and on the other hand clutching his chest. She then noticed that there was blood, and that he was lying next to or just behind the car that was parked in front of the doctor's offices. She then says that she went to him, took what she thought were belongings that he would want to keep safe, such as his cell phone, his car keys, as well as his wallet. Also saying that she asked the security guard to just watch over him while she ran back into the practice to get the doctor. Once the doctor came out, the ambulances were then called. However, I think what was quite interesting, Bradan, or what came out of her testimony today, is that while she can describe what she saw, she can describe Mthokozisi Ntumba as being the deceased in this matter, she can't tell the court who exactly fired those shots that ended Mthokozisi Ntumba's life. However, what I think the state was trying to really ascertain for the court today was that the person that was struck with those bullets was Mthokozisi Ntumba. But even after the testimony from Lerato Mokwena, it's still unclear as to which officers had shot Mthokozisi and whether it was the police officers at all.
Yeah, and as we know, they've all pleaded not guilty, Slindelo. You know, as you were talking there, my mind went back to that fateful day for Mthokozisi during that protest action by students there on that streets in Braamfontein, and how we captured the doctor himself trying to explain the commotion he heard and the sound of gunfire as soon as Mthokozisi had just left his practice. So I'm sure there was a lot of confusion on that that day. We're going to see if this court will be able to get any clarity. What's next in this case?
Certainly so. I mean, this is only day one of what is said to be a 30-day trial here in the South Gauteng High Court, Braden. We're expecting the state to call more than 20 witnesses to come and testify and give their account of what happened. What we do know is that one of the other witnesses that we can expect is the doctor who attended to Mthokozi Zintumba on that day. And of course, we know that the police officers are also facing 3 counts of attempted murder. So you can imagine the vast amounts of evidence that this court is about to hear, as well as we know that there's going to be at least 45-minute video footage of what happened on that particular fateful day, which will probably bring more clarity as to who was responsible or who is responsible for the death of Mthokozi Zintumba, and whether the state's case is strong, I think is what we're going to be seeing unfolding over the next 30 days. So what we are expecting is more witnesses to be called to the stand, Braden, as well as cross-examination, of course, by the defense and the lawyers of the accused.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Slindela. But you've been very busy there on that court beat for ENCA today. Earlier in the day, you also sat in on what should have been the start of the murder trial in the Tshephisho Kekana case. Another delay there. Why?
Certainly so. It was quite a busy day, I must say, here in the South Gauteng High Court, Braden. A number of high-profile cases that was set to sit for trial, but had to be postponed due to a number of issues. And like you correctly stated, one of those is the case against Ntuthuko Shoba, the alleged mastermind behind the death of Tshephisho Kekana. That trial was also set to start today. What we saw happening in court were, of course, family members from the Pule family coming to see the start of this trial, but yet another delay in this matter. This time the defense asking the court for some time to do some re-imaging, as they called it, of the cell phone evidence that's going to be submitted in this particular matter. And of course, the Pule family quite disappointed that there's yet another delay, saying that, you know, the defense has had access to the contents of the docket for some time now, and it just seems as though they are once more trying to stall the beginning of the trial. And so the matter was then postponed to next week, Monday. That is the 24th of January, where we are set to see the beginning of the trial of Ntuthuko Shoba.
Yeah, we saw the uncle there earlier, Tshephisho Kekana's uncle, excuse me, Dumisani Katake, really expressing that disappointment that the family was feeling by yet another delay. And I'm just wondering if there were any supporters there on behalf of the accused Ntuthuko Shoba at all?
I did see a number of people who were speaking to Ntuthuko Shoba's lawyers after the court case. I can't tell you right now, Braden, or confirm to you right now whether it's family members or relatives, but he did have several people come out to court today to come and support him. We did try to speak to the lawyers after the court case to get a sense as to, you know, how they see this case unfolding, but at this point they've said that they won't be commenting until the trial is concluded in this matter, saying that they want to be sensitive to the Tshephisho Kekana family.
Okay, thank you very much for that update from yet another busy day in the courts with Slindelo Masigana on those two main court cases that we've been tracking for you here today.